The chandeliers of Crestwood Estate glittered like constellations trapped indoors, but not a single star seemed willing to shine upon Lady Evelyn Harcourt. The perfume of roses and gossip hung heavy in the air, and every silken gown swirling past her felt like a reminder of her fall from grace. She stood near the edge of the ballroom, a solitary figure beside a marble column, attempting to appear invisible. It was safer that way. Once, Evelyn had moved among these guests as an equal, adored and welcomed. Now her family's fortune was gone, swallowed by debts made public in a scandal that did not belong to her. Society had punished her all the same. Everywhere she looked, she saw turned shoulders and cold eyes, the cruel artistry of a world that devoured weakness. "Is that Miss Harcourt?" someone whispered, hunted with malice. "Yes," returned like a stray, begging entrance, another replied. Evelyn reminded herself she had come only because her mother begged it. Perhaps a benevolent smile from someone of influence could restore even a sliver of connection. But she knew the truth. Charity from the cruel was never kindness. She lifted her chin, refusing to let shame bow her head. Dignity was all she had left to wear. The orchestra played a waltz, silver bright through the air. As couples whirled past, Evelyn's gaze caught the one man who appeared immune to the gaudy vibrance. His Grace, Alexander Thornton, Duke of Winthorpe. Broad-shouldered, posture regal, his expression carried a quiet weight, as though weary of admiration. He was the kingdom's golden A, and tonight he was betrothed. His fiancée, Lady Juliet Fairfax, shone bright as a polished jewel. She held his arm with practiced affection, adored by all who desired proximity to power. Yet as Evelyn watched, she saw neither warmth nor joy in the Duke's eyes. He endured the evening rather than celebrated it. A laughter crueler than music interrupted her thoughts. Lady Margaret, wrapped in jewels, approached with the stale delight of a predator seeking sport. "My dear Evelyn," she purred, "I thought you would be too humbled to show your face here. How brave of you." Evelyn offered a measured nod. Courage is often confused for necessity. "Oh, but necessity should not make one forget their place," Margaret said. "The world remembers what your family has done." Evelyn refused to flinch. "Enjoy the evening, Lady Margaret." The woman's smirk faltered. She turned away, disappointed by the lack of tears. Evelyn's pulse drummed against her restraint. If dignity was all she possessed, society seemed determined to steal even that. Seeking quiet, she moved toward the terrace but collided gently with another figure. Her breath caught. The Duke. Up close, Alexander's eyes were a startling clarity of storm gray, intelligent and observant. He regarded her with polite concern, not irritation. "My apologies," he said, voice smooth and low. "I fear I have obstructed your escape." Evelyn felt heat rise at her neckline. "Forgive me, Your Grace. I was inattentive." Something unreadable flickered in his expression, a quiet awareness. Before he could speak further, a lilting voice intervened. "There you are, dearest," Lady Juliet chimed, glancing at Evelyn with swift dismissal. "His Grace is needed. Excuse us." Juliet whisked him away, leaving Evelyn to steady her breathing. He was not for her notice, nor she for his. She turned once more to escape the crowd, when hurried whispers drifted from behind a decorative partition. A secretive pocket of darkness concealed two figures, Juliet Fairfax and a man who certainly was not the Duke. "I cannot remain in this charade much longer," Juliet hissed, fingers clutching his coat. "By dawn, we vanish. The fortune will be secured by midnight." The man kissed her wrist brazenly. Let him suffer heartbreak. He was only a means. Evelyn froze, horror pressing into her ribs. "You must leave now," Juliet whispered. "Return under cover of night. We shall have everything." The stranger vanished into shadow. Juliet composed herself and stepped back into the glittering world as though nothing had occurred. Evelyn's thoughts raced. The Duke had shown her a moment of courtesy. For that alone he deserved truth. To remain silent felt morally impossible. Yet who would believe her? Already she was branded desperate. If she spoke, they would call it envy. Cowardice whispered, "Walk away. Let the powerful fall by their own treachery." But she remembered her father's final words. One must remain honorable, even when the world is not. Her knees threatened to buckle beneath the scrutiny around her, though she fought to keep her poise. The music, once light, now throbbed like a warning beneath her ribs. Candlelight blurred around her vision as fear clawed upward. She could almost hear the court's verdict, a fallen girl inventing tales to steal a duke's attention. Yet beneath terror-stirred conviction, this night would define her. She would not let deceit triumph simply because truth trembled on her lips. She prayed he would believe her. Tonight, her fingers trembled as she approached the duke, each step a battle. The room seemed to spin with judgmental eyes, though most ignored her entirely. Alexander stood near the edge of the dance floor, alone for a moment. She stopped a careful distance away, lowering her head. "Your Grace," she breathed. He turned toward her. Recognition softened his features. "Lady Evelyn, are you quite well?" No, she drew a steadying breath. "Forgive my intrusion. I would not speak, were it not of urgent importance." His attention sharpened. "Then speak freely." Evelyn swallowed, courage taut. "Your betrothed. I fear she is not as faithful as she appears." Her voice frayed, yet she forced the truth out. "There are plans set in motion for this very night. Plans against you." Alexander's expression became still as stone. "You must reconsider," Evelyn whispered. "They are coming tonight." Time seemed to hold its breath. The chandeliers flickered, the walls faded to distant hum. Finally, the Duke's voice emerged, quiet as winter steel. "What do you know, Lady Evelyn?" For a heartbeat, the world seemed made only of Evelyn's whispered warning and the Duke's unwavering gaze. Alexander studied her with a quiet intensity that stripped away any refuge she wished to hide behind. She could not tell whether the storm in his expression reflected belief or suspicion. "Where did you hear this?" he asked. "I witnessed it," she answered, "just beyond the terrace doors." Lady Juliet was not alone. His jaw tightened, though his tone remained civil. "These are grave accusations." "I am aware." Her voice trembled, but she did not look away. "I would not risk such dishonor if the danger were not real." He nodded once, a gesture of acknowledgement rather than trust. Then, offering his arm, an unexpected courtesy, he led her away from the curious stares beginning to gather. They walked to a quiet alcove adorned with winter roses frozen beneath glass. He faced her fully. "If you speak truth, I owe you my gratitude," Alexander murmured. "If not, you imperil your own standing for naught." Evelyn met his eyes. "My standing is already in ruins, Your Grace. I have nothing left that can be taken from me, save my conscience." Silence lingered between them, fragile yet binding. A flicker of admiration passed across his features before he masked it again. "I must verify what you claim." He paused. "But know this, it is not my habit to overlook sincerity." Before she could respond, Lady Juliet glided toward them, radiant and sharp as a blade hidden in silk. "Your Grace," she said, placing an elegant hand upon his shoulder, "I wondered where you had vanished." Her gaze flicked to Evelyn, too polished to reveal hostility yet too swift to hide it. "I hope all is well." Miss Harcourt merely sought assistance, Alexander replied with diplomatic ease. "Nothing more." Juliet's eyes hardened for the briefest second. "I see." Then, with a flawless smile, "Do return to the ballroom, dearest. Our guests await your presence." With a bow of formality, the Duke excused himself. Juliet remained, her smile turning venomous once he was gone. "You little fool," she whispered. "What fantasies have you conjured now? Imagining yourself the Duke's savior." "I seek nothing from him," Evelyn replied, voice steady though her pulse rioted. "Only that he not be deceived by those who stand closest." Juliet leaned in, perfume suffocating. "One word more, and I shall see you disgraced beyond repair." Evelyn's breath stilled. "You cannot ruin what is already shattered." Juliet's laughter tinkled like poisoned bells. "Oh, darling, I can always find more to break." She swept away, leaving frost in her wake. Hours slipped by in a haze of forced gaiety. The ball continued, glittering and joyous, while truth and danger simmered beneath its gleaming surface. Evelyn moved silently among the revelers, her warning delivered yet weighing heavily. She wondered if the Duke would act or dismiss her entirely. She reached the refreshments table just as the room erupted with scandalous murmur. It surged like a fever through the crowd. Lady Margaret pushed forward with theatrical despair. "Harcourt," she crooned, "I cannot imagine how you endure such boldness." Evelyn stiffened. "What boldness?" "The boldness to arrive here and pretend innocence while knowing the crimes committed by your late father." Margaret smirked triumphantly. "Surely you must have heard. New evidence has surfaced. They claim he stole from the crown. A traitor's blood runs in your veins." The word struck like a fist. Gasps echoed. Faces twisted. The musicians faltered, bowstrings catching on sudden silence. Evelyn's heart slammed against her ribcage, but she refused to give them the pleasure of collapse. "That is a lie," she forced out. "My father was loyal to the crown until his final breath." "And yet," Margaret sang sweetly, "papers have been discovered that suggest otherwise. It is said the crown shall move to seize what remains of your family holdings." Evelyn's vision blurred for an instant. This, now, was Juliet behind it, tightening a snare to ensure her silence. A pair of guards appeared, summoned like hounds. One spoke without courtesy. "Miss Harcourt, His Majesty's officers request you depart immediately. You are no longer welcome upon royal grounds." The humiliation was complete. A few weeks ago she had belonged. Now she was treated as contagion. But before the guards could seize her arm, a shadow loomed, solid, protective. Alexander. He positioned himself between Evelyn and the men, voice cutting like steel drawn fresh from the forge. "You will not lay a hand upon her." The guards faltered. "Your Grace, we were instructed." "You obey me," Alexander said, quiet but terrifying. "If the king himself disputes it, he may do so to my face." Whispers spread like wildfire. The disgraced girl defended. By the Duke? Shock, curiosity, envy. Evelyn felt it all buzzing around her like bees circling honey. Alexander turned toward her, lowering his voice. "Stay close." Then louder, commanding the room. "There will be no further disturbance this evening." Without awaiting approval, he offered his own silk glove, the left one, plain yet undeniably personal. He placed it in her hand, the gesture intimate enough to burn. "A token," he murmured, "that you are under my protection." She stared at him, disbelief tinged with hope. Her fingers curled around the glove like a lifeline. He guided her away from the center of chaos as gossip roared behind them. Lady Margaret and her eager accomplices were left sputtering. Juliet watched from across the ballroom, a fury she could not conceal tightening her perfect smile. Once alone near a column of carved angels, Alexander spoke low. "I confronted her. She denied everything, of course. Her poise was flawless. And you?" "Evelyn did. Do you believe her?" He looked down at the glove now secure in Evelyn's grasp. "I believe what I see, and I see honesty in your eyes." Warmth surged beneath her ribs, unexpected, dangerous. Yet caution flashed in his gaze. "But belief is not proof. I must uncover the truth with certainty." Evelyn nodded. "Then let me help." "You have done enough for one night," he answered gently. "Rest now. Tomorrow, we proceed with clarity." She sensed there was more he wished to say, but he turned away, duty calling him back into the ballroom, back into Juliet's web. Evelyn clutched the glove to her chest. Her pulse throbbed with fear and exhilaration. She had been spayed expulsion, yet the tide of rumor only grew more vicious. Her father's honor dangled on a thread. Her own future, even thinner. From the gallery above, a servant slipped a folded paper onto Juliet's waiting hand. Juliet read it, and a cruel smile blossomed, too triumphant, too assured. A chill crept through Evelyn. She was not merely caught in scandal. She was being targeted. And Juliet Fairfax had only just begun. The winter night deepened outside Crestwood Estate, the air crackling with a cold that seemed to echo the frigid currents of the ballroom. When the Duke returned from the crowd, he found Evelyn standing by a line of frost-laced windows, the silk glove he had given her clutched close to her chest as if it were a fragile treasure. She seemed both strengthened and fragile, an ember fighting to stay alight in the presence of howling winds. "Lady Evelyn," he said softly. She turned, breath shallow with surprise. His expression was no longer the detached composure expected of a duke. There was a shadow of concern, perhaps something deeper. It startled her more than hostility would have. "Your Grace," she replied, attempting a curtsy that wavered only slightly. "Come with me. There are quieter corners where truth is less likely to be trampled beneath the feet of the thoughtless." His voice carried no command, only invitation. Evelyn nodded without protest. He guided her through an arched doorway and into the moonlit gardens beyond the grand hall. Snow dusted the hedges and statues, turning the world silver. Lanterns flickered along a path leading to a secluded pavilion draped in winter roses. The hush of the outdoors soothed where the ballroom suffocated. Alexander stopped beneath the pavilion, breath shaping small clouds in the cold air. For a moment, he simply regarded her, as though searching for something buried behind her brave gaze. "You spoke something dangerous tonight," he said, "and you did so with the calm of someone already condemned." Evelyn's fingers curled around the glove. When one has fallen so far, there is little left to fear except further silence. "I would rather speak and risk ruin than stand idle while you walk blind into treachery." His eyes softened. "Then tell me all you know." Evelyn inhaled, remembering every word, every secret touch she witnessed. She recounted Juliet's clandestine meeting, the stolen fortune, the looming escape. Each detail carved new lines of tension into the Duke's features. When she finished, silence pressed against them again. "I have been a fool," he murmured, "blind to the hunger behind the smiles offered in this house. I believe my engagement a blessing to my family, a safeguard of legacy. Yet it seems I have bartered my happiness for a serpent's embrace." Evelyn stepped closer before she realized it. "You deserve affection that is sincere, Your Grace. You deserve a partner who sees the man beneath the title." His gaze caught hers. "Do you?" The question stole her breath. A truth trembled between them, too fragile to name. "I remember a day long ago," she whispered. "My family was still respected. I was scarcely 15, and terrified as I stood alone in the rain outside Parliament. My father had been accused even then, and I heard the jeers, the cruel predictions of his doom. And then you passed by. You did not know my name, yet you paused, handed me your handkerchief, and told me that storms pass, even for the undeserving. I have never forgotten." Recognition widened his eyes. "I recall that. I did not know it was you." "It mattered to me," she said quietly. "You mattered to me long before tonight." His composure faltered, emotion flickering like candlelight battling wind. "You should not place your loyalty upon someone who can offer nothing in return. You defend me, even against a room set against my existence," she replied. "That is more than nothing." He exhaled, long and heavy. "If I had known, if circumstances were different." But he stopped, the unspoken rising like heat between them. Snowflakes drifted from the sky, landing gently upon their hair and shoulders as though winter itself sought to bless their closeness. Evelyn's heart pounded so loudly she feared he might hear it. "It is not simply deception that troubles me," Alexander admitted, voice low. "It is the realization that for so long, I have been admired for the cloth of my coat rather than the course of my soul. You look upon me and see not a duke, but a man. That is a rarity I find myself unwilling to lose." Evelyn's breath hitched. The possibility in his words was too exquisite to trust. "And yet," he said, stepping nearer, "a duke cannot act upon impulse. Not when lives and reputations are entwined with every heartbeat." She nodded, though disappointment cut sharp as glass. "Naturally." He reached out, not bold, but careful, and adjusted the cloak resting upon her shoulders. His fingers grazed the softness of her hair, sending a jolt of warmth through her veins. "I will not allow them to destroy you," he vowed. "Whatever this plot is, we shall expose it." Her eyes stung with unshed tears she refused to let fall. "Thank you." A sharp rustling from the garden's edge startled them. A servant scurried forward, panting from urgency. "Your Grace," he gasped, eyes darting between them. "Forgive me. Lady Juliet is missing from the ballroom, and the master vault keys are gone." Alexander's face darkened, resolve hardening like steel quenched in ice. The tender silence shattered, replaced by the thunder of imminent peril. He turned to Evelyn, every word a promise forged beneath the looming storm. We must move quickly. Tonight, all truths will be laid bare. Evelyn's pulse quickened as they hurried toward the mansion, the crisp night swallowing their breath. The Duke's stride was resolute, yet a fury clung to him like a second cloak. She could see the betrayal cutting into him, deeper than any public disgrace. She has gone too far, he muttered. What must be done? Evelyn asked. We find the truth, he answered, and we let the lies burn. They approached the glowing windows of the ballroom, where laughter still poured out, blissfully ignorant. Alexander paused, eyes narrowing. Tonight, he said, voice dark with promise, Juliet will answer for every deceit. A chill swept through Evelyn, not from Winter's touch, but from the certainty that the next steps would change everything. The ballroom had not lost its brilliance, though a darker current now pulsed beneath its glittering facade, as though the chandeliers sensed the imminent collapse of the illusion. Alexander entered first, stride commanding. Evelyn followed just behind, heart hammering, yet unwilling to retreat. The music played on, violins singing ignorance, while masked treachery prepared its escape into the night. Alexander scanned the room. Juliet was nowhere to be seen. Her absence did not delay him. He signaled to his steward. His Majesty's vault, Alexander demanded quietly. Are the keys confirmed stolen? Yes, Your Grace. Lady Juliet was last seen leaving the gallery before she vanished. Anger flickered through him, but he did not allow fury to consume judgment. He turned to Evelyn, voice taut with the weight of betrayal. We intercept her in the West Wing. If the vault has been opened, time is precious. Evelyn nodded. Fear coiled in her stomach, yet she walked where he led. The West Wing corridors were dim, lined with portraits whose painted eyes watched them advance. The scent of dust lingered like an omen. Footsteps quickened ahead, then hushed. Alexander raised a hand, pausing them in the doorway of the estate's treasury chamber. Inside, candlelight flickered across marble floors and towering shelves of jewels and ledgers. And there she was, Lady Juliet Fairfax, poised in a gown too elegant to belong near crime. In her gloved hands, she held a gilded coffer. At her side stood the same man Evelyn had seen earlier, dark-eyed, smirking, a predator dressed in polished boots. Juliet's mask fell away entirely when she realized she was seen. Alexander, she breathed, as though startled innocence might rescue her. The Duke stepped inside. Do not insult me further with false sweetness. His voice was iron wrapped in velvet. Return what you have stolen. Juliet set the coffer down slowly. Everything I have done, she said, was to free myself from a life where my soul matters less than my dowry. You had a choice, Alexander answered. You chose deceit. Her expression sharpened. You were never mine. You belong to duty, not love. I seek a life outside cages built of titles. And you believe betrayal would unlock the door. The accomplice stepped forward, hand drifting toward a concealed blade. We have no time for poetry, Your Grace. Alexander positioned himself between Evelyn and the threat. You will not pass. Juliet's eyes darted to Evelyn, brimming with contempt. This is her doing. The fallen lady with nothing left but lies to gain your attention. Evelyn stood her ground. I gained nothing. I sought only to protect what is just. You sought to win what was never yours, Juliet hissed. Alexander's gaze hardened. What is not mine to give cannot be stolen. And yet, what I value is not for you to define. With that, he strode forward, calling for guards. Bootsteps thundered in the hall. Juliet's accomplice lunged, but Alexander caught his wrist, twisting until the blade clattered to the floor. The scuffle was brief. 2 guards seized the intruder while others surrounded Juliet. Realizing defeat, Juliet turned desperate. Alexander, think, she pleaded. Your reputation, your future. This scandal will destroy the both of us. No, he replied. Only you sought destruction. The guards bound her wrists. Juliet did not weep. She glared, fury blazing. You will regret this, she spat. She will ruin you. You are sacrificing a kingdom for a girl with nothing. Alexander did not falter. She possesses more honor in her smallest gesture than you ever held in your finest hour. Evelyn inhaled sharply, tears pricking hot, yet she stood straight. The Duke's words echoed like a vow. As Juliet was escorted out, her lover dragged alongside her. Alexander ordered the vault sealed. Only when the last guard exited did the Duke's shoulders sink slightly. Evelyn stepped closer. "Your Grace," she whispered. "I'm so deeply sorry." "You have no cause to be," he answered. "If not for you, I might have bound my life to corruption. You have offered me truth when all around me dealt in lies." There was something in his expression, relief entwined with awe, that made her pulse stutter. "You deserve better than gratitude," he continued. "You deserve a world that does not feed on your suffering." Evelyn looked away. "I deserve nothing extraordinary. I simply wish to stand where my father's memory is not spat upon." Alexander reached for her hand, not the glove, but her skin. "Warm, certain. I will ensure his honor is restored. You have my word. From this night forward, no one shall speak his name with disdain." Emotions surged within her. "Why?" she breathed. He stepped closer. "Because courage deserves reward. And because," his voice faltered only a moment, "because your presence has become the one truth I cannot ignore." Evelyn froze. "Alexander," she whispered, but he was already committing to a choice. He walked toward the corridor, leaving Evelyn stunned in the treasury's glow. At the threshold, he paused and spoke loud enough for every lingering ear of the approaching guards. "The engagement is dissolved. Lady Juliet Fairfax no longer hold claim to my name nor my house." Gasps erupted. Whispers caught fire. Alexander's eyes found Evelyn again. "Now," he said, "let the world judge my sincerity." In that suspended heartbeat, Evelyn saw the truth of everything she had feared and hoped colliding at once. She reached toward him, instinct overriding doubt. But the moment shattered as the intruder's snarl carved terror through the hall. Alexander's determination hardened into something almost feral, a protector stripped of pretense. The blade caught the light like a falling star, promising ruin. The future they had barely dared imagine flickered fragile still, hanging on the edge of a single decision. Evelyn's scream never formed before Alexander lunged, and steel flashed toward them both. A storm gathered above Hawthorne Chapel, as though the heavens themselves braced for what must be revealed. Elara descended the carriage first, the wind snapping her cloak behind her like a dark wing. The Duke followed, his stride relentless, every step sounding like a verdict upon the stone. The night air was thick with the scent of rain and betrayal. Torches flickered along the chapel walls, their flames bending under the gale as if trying to look away from the impending disgrace. Inside, a hushed triumph lingered in the aisles, Lady Cassandra's triumph. The congregation of the elite waited with breathless delight to witness the formal joining of two noble houses, unaware that deceit lay like poison beneath the velvet. The Duke entered with an authority no storm could rival. Ladies gasped, gentlemen leaned forward, and the officiant paused mid-sentence. Cassandra, radiant in pearls and a gown that shimmered like freshly fallen snow, turned to her groom with a smile that had snared empires. But when she saw Elara at his side, that smile cracked. "Your Grace," she whispered, delight draining from her facade. He spoke not to her but to the gathered eyes hungry for spectacle. "There will be no wedding tonight." The words fell like thunder. Murmurs surged, scandal blooming like wildfire. Cassandra's brothers rose, faces red with confusion and rage. Elara's heart hammered a frantic plea. This was her doing, her revelation. But now that the truth must breathe freely, she felt a tremor of fear. What if the Duke's trust shattered as completely as this ceremony? He stepped forward. "Lady Cassandra has entertained company not fitting for a future duchess. She arranged her own escape with another man this very night." He held up the crest he had found. "This token was not mine to give." Gasps rippled again. Cassandra stumbled, her poise collapsing. "That is a lie, fabricated by this jealous." "Elara has nothing to gain," he cut in sharply. "She sought only to spare me humiliation." Cassandra's expression twisted into something venomous. "Then she lies for the pleasure of destroying me." Ilara stepped forward, her voice calm though dread curled beneath every word. "My lady, I saw you with my own eyes under the Crescent Bridge, where you promised yourself to another. You said you needed only to endure tonight so that your dowry would enrich the man you actually desired." Cassandra's lips trembled, fury turning to desperation. "You cannot prove." The chapel doors burst open. Rain swept in, and behind it, Sir Alistair himself. His uniform was soggy, his hair disheveled, his breath strained as though he had sprinted more than ridden. His presence alone spoke confession. Cassandra's knees buckled. She let out a cry, reaching for him instinctively, love blazing through her collapsed composure. The room recoiled collectively. Those who had praised her purity now stared as if witnessing a fallen angel. The Duke regarded the couple, jaw tense with disgust, but not triumph. No man rejoices in the validation of his greatest fay. Cassandra rose to plead with him, but he took a single step back. She froze as though the ground had given way beneath her. "I loved you once," he murmured. "That was gift enough." Her tears fell freely, yet no one stepped forward to comfort her. The court that adored her moments ago now abandoned her without hesitation. She grasped Alistair's arm, clinging to the only life raft left in a sea of shame. And together, they fled into the storm. The officiant, trembling, bowed his head. "Your Grace, shall we postpone?" "There is nothing further to postpone," he answered, voice low. Guests began to disperse, their whispers like daggers slicing through silence. Ilara remained fixed, breath unsteady. She had wanted to protect him, but witnessing pain carve itself into his features, she felt complicit in cruelty. When the chapel finally emptied, the Duke turned to her. They stood alone beneath stained-glass saints who looked down with mournful judgment. Rain drummed against the roof like a relentless heartbeat. "I owe you my dignity," he said quietly, "and perhaps my life's fortune. Yet I sense you fear I now despise you." She dared meet his eyes. "I fear you suffer because of me. I suffer because I loved blindly. You opened my eyes." He stepped nearer, and her pulse stuttered. The scent of rain clung to him, mingled with cedar and cold anger thawing into vulnerability. His voice softened. "Why did you help me, Ilara? Truly." She swallowed, palms damp inside her gloves. "Because I could not bear to watch you walk into ruin. Because you deserve a heart loyal to you alone." His gaze searched her like a man seeking refuge in someone's truth. "And does your heart possess such loyalty?" Heat rushed to her cheeks, modesty warred with longing. Her tongue felt too bold and too afraid all at once. "It is not mine to boast of, only yours to judge, should you want to." The Duke's breath hitched, a quiet, startled sound of a man whose armor had been pierced by gentleness. He took her gloved hand, lifting it slowly to his chest. She felt the pounding rhythm beneath his coat, fierce and unguarded. "Ilara, every moment I remain near you, my restraint unravels," he admitted, voice barely above a whisper. "Tell me, may I hope?" She leaned into the warmth of his palm as it cupped her cheek. Fear and desire tangled inside her, yet her answer flowed steady. "Hope is not merely allowed, Your Grace. It is returned." His thumb traced the curve of her cheekbone, reverent. The storm outside roared in approval, lightning casting silver light over his noble features. His eyes, once darkened by betrayal, now shone with a promise of something fiercely alive. Yet before their lips could find the courage that their hearts had claimed, a sharp clang echoed through the chapel. The side door swung open, guards rushing in, soaked and frantic. "Your Grace," one called. "We intercepted a letter. It appeased the eloping lovers were not merely fleeing scandal, but plotting your downfall. Your estate, your title, they meant to ruin you entirely." The Duke stiffened, hand still holding Ilara's. "Where are they now?" "Gone into the marshland, sir. We believe they ride toward Blackthorn Port." Rain crashed harder, wind howled, and the candles fluttered violently as though terrified of the night. Ilara felt the world tilt, danger returning with merciless speed. He released her hand to grasp his sword. "Then this is not yet finished." Ilara stepped forward, voice unwavering despite the fear clawing at her ribs. You will not face them alone. He paused, eyes softening, not in doubt, but in gratitude. He offered his hand once more, not as a nobleman to his servant, but as a man to the woman he could no longer pretend to resist. Stay by my side, he said. Whatever awaits us, let us face it together. Elara took his hand without hesitation. Their fingers interlaced, certainty weaving itself between them like fate finally speaking aloud. Outside, thunder cracked the sky open, and the future rushed toward them like a tide unstoppable. Love had sparked. Now battle awaited.